down on the Eyre Peninsula in beautiful South Australia, having a good look around with the Summit Tracks 4-Wheel Drive Club. This is fantastic. Come along and have a look. We were out to explore Coffin Bay, which is just a 400k flip over from Adelaide if you came that way. I came down from Brisbane, of course, so it was a bit more of a run for me, but that's good. I needed a bit of a drive to run in Milo's new motor. Those Terrain Tamer people have done a fantastic job on it. They really have. Balance to the max, it's something else. But you know what? It was really good fun travelling with the Summit Tracks Club too. They only brought 5 of their vehicles along, but they were good vehicles of different capabilities too. So it gave us once more a bit of a look at what other vehicles people are using and how capable they are. In this particular pack, there's no lock diffs. In fact, 2 of these vehicles are fairly new to the members, 2 GUs, and they haven't done a lot to them yet, just the bars and winches and things like that. Dave's 80, on the other hand, has got a rear diff locker. And that made all the difference in a whole lot of the places we went to. It really did. We were down on the rocks just mucking around, you know, comparing the articulation. Milo's always had lots, you know, the big leaves, nice and soft these days, especially these ones. But it was interesting to see that Mike's GU just took this so beautifully. It really did, and he's done nothing to the suspension yet except a bit of a lift to accommodate those 35-inch Mickeys. Close behind him you can see Deb's Pajero, and look at how well that works over the bumps. It really does. Even though it's a short wheelbase vehicle, these things really do have nice suspension. It's well set up too, this one. Tim hasn't done a lot to his GU yet because it's fairly new, and you can tell the difference between it and Pete's truck. Pete's GQ has got the lot, it really has, in terms of suspension. It's got some terrific tough dog componentry under there, as well as thirds, arms and things like that. And of course, there's nothing wrong with an 80 series. Even in standard form, they're a good truck. Dave's truck just proved it all once again, it really did. You do have to be careful around Bay Country because there's a whole crop of different traps to play with. When the water's not moving that much, the seaweed still is. Hey, but we work that out later on. I guess you're lucky in a way, aren't you? You've got people like us to go and get bogged for you. How did it look, mate?
No, good. We caught it in time,
good.
which is the main thing.
Yep. So the gasket's still all right?
Yep. Yeah, that's the best thing about it. We've caught it fairly early on in the piece, so the gasket hasn't blown out. All we've had to do is just tighten it back up.
Lovely, yeah.
Yep.
So how did you pick it in the first place?
Well, actually, it's just the noise. It's like anything. In the mornings, checking a few things around, and the guy started the car up this morning, and there was a puff of smoke in the wrong spot.
Okay.
Coming out of the engine bay. So, bit of a look, and there it was.
Now, if this had been me, if this had happened to me and that had blown that gasket, I probably would have used a band of silicone or something.
Oh, mate, nothing wrong with that. That'll
Nothing
get
wrong
you
with that?
back to the first port of call, and then get a proper gasket fitted.
And then get a proper gasket fitted.
Yeah.
There you go. And for once, it wasn't me who had to fix it. Thanks, Dave. Boy, we had a beaut day that first day, we really did. It was all about the driving, you know, just driving and enjoying each other's company. And by this stage, we were looking forward to camping up for the night. But then Tim went and got stuck, well and truly. And with the tide coming in too. Now this, as probably a lot of you know, is one of the worst situations to find yourself in when you're four-wheel driving. Tide's coming in. Well, look at that. That's why it sank. This is so porous, this sand. It is just like that quicksand. It's amazing too because there's no visual difference anywhere along the beach. It all looks exactly the same. This patch here, dangerous. But we'll get him out. The whole club's into it now. We'll get him out. Tim's well and truly stuck and the tide's coming in. It really is. We've done a bit of a double loop here because the truck is that well stuck that to just take it off one chassis rail is not a good move. I always like to do this anyway, especially when something's as badly bogged as this. Struth, mate, that was a bit of bad luck, wasn't it?
It blooming was. A bit too close to the edge.
Just a bit too close, but you came straight through here too, Deb.
Yeah, I actually bogged down up there, so I was able to get out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a load of this. This is like that quicksand in Tasmania. It's not swallowing it quite as fast, but I tell you what, with the tide coming in at the same time, it's a worry, isn't it, mate?
Blooming is. The sooner we get this moving, the better.
Yeah, I figured you might say that. We'll get you out in a minute. Tim's like a lot of Poms, took one look at Australia and decided to stay. Can't blame him for that. Been like that ever since Captain Cook found the place. I'll tell you what though, he was getting nervous about now. Nothing like having your new four-wheel drive well and truly stuck with the tide coming in. But the whole crew was there ready to help, and we had Dave's 80 series in position real quick.
How are you feeling about this, Tim?
A little bit nervous on this. Towing vehicles bogging, getting pretty serious now.
Yeah, it's a big sink, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Whole area. All right. Should be right, mate.
Oh. Yeah, I'm in low second.
Dave hasn't done a lot to this, but he has got a rear locker. Here we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Holy dooly, that's fantastic. Wait. Oh, what a beauty. What an effort. If you hadn't stayed on the stick and kept steering, you would have gone again.
Just had the revs up and get it going.
Mate.
That's good. Pleased with that.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
I didn't do anything. Thank Dave. Look at how close he came there, eh? It is so wet. When I went back and had a look at this, there would have been at least a couple of feet of seaweed hidden underneath that sand. But anyway, Tim was out, he was happy, and it was time to head home, back to camp and cook up a bit of a feast. Yes, well, for an old bait layer, I can do that occasionally. We had a few beers to look after too. And we had just enough time for me to go for a little bit of an explore. Because I was up front, I was out there using the excuse that I was looking for nice places to take some more footage. So I went bunting over the sandhills a little bit too. And quite often the convoy would stay still while I went off for a bit of an explore. Now I know what you're thinking that's just Roothy taking advantage of the situation and going out for an extra play in Milo. You might be right too, I can never resist that. It's just such a beautiful place around here though. It's not really like the beaches on Queensland. There's a different sort of scrub, and you can see why they pulled so much limestone out of this country. And here's one of the reasons I'm stuck like I'm in cement. That's what happens on the lee side of the hill. I'm stuck. I'll try the max. Well and truly stuck. All I did was lob over a little bit of a sandhill, but because of the high winds in this area, you can see that by that flag on Milo's antenna, there was so much soft sand piled up here that all I did was stop and Milo sank all on its own. Now I thought I'd give the Max Tracks a try. I only had 2 of them here and I didn't have a lot of time, and I thought, well, that'll be a quick way, just sling her out. But of course the sand was just so soft it spat out the tracks. There was nothing I could do there. I thought, right, I gave it a couple of goes, it's not going to happen. And I'm in a hurry. I'm getting thirsty, I'm getting hungry. What I really need is for someone to pull me out. So I got on the blower to Mike and said, come on mate, just drop up the hill, here I am, but don't go near the soft stuff. He came straight over, managed to miss the soft stuff, no problems at all. And it wasn't long before we had Milo all snatched up and ready to pull out. Good on you, Mike. Oh, I tell you what, mate, I'm glad you were there with that GU. It's funny, I could have got it out with the Max Tracks, no worries at all, if I'd just gone to the trouble of jacking it up a bit. And 4 tracks here really would have helped instead of 2, because we'd gone down at the back too. But hey, when you got someone like Mike sitting around with his GU patrol, you don't want to muck around, do you? Since I've had that Storm strap, I don't think I've actually undone a shackle, apart from the odd bracing one. They're a good thing. You should try one sometime. And there she is, straight out, no worries at all. Oops, hang on, shut the tailgate, you'll lose the fridge. Nothing's going to stop us from going back to camp for a bit of a cook-up now, I can tell you. I'm going to stick to the main tracks all the way there. No more exploring, I promise. Until tomorrow, anyway. We're down here at Coffin Bay, and the Summit Tracks 4-Wheel Drive Club have gamely, in my opinion, offered to be the victims, the eaters of a meal cooked by me. Well, gee, they don't know what they're in for, do they? This is Debbie and Ray, and over here we got Mike on capsicum and Peter. Because we're down by the sea, we had to do seafood, of course, and I've been wanting to do a bit of a seafood curry for a while. So anyway, let's get into it. This is really simple. It can be really nice. We've already cooked some rice to one side here. That's just sitting there finishing off in the pot. And this is how simple it is. You watch. Now, I'm going to start with this. This is Ponty Hills extra virgin olive oil, and it's a local product. Give it a good old dose. Okay. Now we're going to start out just a little bit of ginger. It's about a tablespoon, and some minced garlic. Probably about another 2 tablespoons. Just give that a bit of a fry up. And then, how are we going with the prawns, guys? Oh, your timing is perfect. Okay, in go the prawns.
Sounds good.
Sounds good, smells good. Does smell good, actually. To the prawns and the garlic and the ginger, I'm going to pop some of Leanne's white wine in. Righto. Probably, about that much. That's about a cup. Wine, ginger, garlic, prawns. Now, to this, the next thing I want to add is the onion. So that's going to be great. In goes the onion. Tip all that up upside down. By now we should have some heat coming through, either that or my shirt's on fire for no reason. And there we go. Next thing to go in is some veggies. Can I have the peas? No, the snow peas will be fine, they'll be lovely. And in they go.
Really starting to smell nice.
It's starting to smell good. Next thing in, now that all the ingredients, the major ingredients are in, is some coconut cream. In this case, 2 cans of, because we're trying to feed 8 or 9 people here tonight. And then magic ingredient time. Roses lime marmalade. It's time to add some green curry paste. Aha!
Secret ingredient.
The other secret ingredient. Big swag of green curry paste. That's probably the equivalent of about 4 tablespoons, I'd say. And oyster sauce. I think I cooked something once without oyster sauce. It might have been a damper. Everything else has had oyster sauce in, for good reason. And we just kind of need that to simmer a bit, to cook everything properly in it. And that's going to be very hard, A, in a wok without a lid, and B, with a gas burner that keeps blowing out. Well, there we go, it's simmered for a while. Hey, I noticed, Dave, you made the table.
Yeah, mate, I'm hungry.
Righto, give us your plate, come on. There we go, a little bit of rice and a little bit of Thai prawn curry. There you go, mate. You can tell me what it tastes like tomorrow.
Afternoon.
What do you reckon? Is it all right? Have we survived?
I'm going to live. Eating, can't talk.
I think that's good, but I'm waiting for Ray. Oh, good on you, Deb. That's right. I'm waiting for Ray because he's a real critic, you know.
A real connoisseur of the kitchen.
He will tell me if it's not good. I know he will.
It needs salt.
Righto, there you go. There's your salt. Pass your plate, Peter. Well, we had a beaut night's camp at Morgan's Landing right next to the beach. It was a terrific place, it really was. I felt a bit sad saying goodbye to the Summit guys though. I mean, we'd only spent a few days together, but you know how it is. When you're out in an isolated place with a bunch of people, you get to know them really quick, you get to like them, you get to enjoy hearing them laugh and play with their trucks and all the rest of the stuff us four-wheel drivers do so well. I was going to miss them, I really was. But we had more adventures to get to. We wanted to go over and have a look at Lincoln National Park. Oh, gee. Now, Lincoln National Park is only about 45 k's from Coffin Bay. It's right on the tip there, right next to Port Lincoln, which is one place you really need to see. It's a beautiful town, right on the corner of the bay, just fantastic. And Milo was just running so well with that new Terrain Tamer motor, it really was. Fully balanced, it just didn't shake, it was quiet. Oh boy, I felt it was absolute luxury, it really was. And plenty of power too. I was even getting reasonable economy. At this stage, even with the new engine, it was up to 7.5 kilometres to the litre. Now that is terrific. That means you can afford to go almost anywhere, I reckon. Because at the end of the day, fuel really is one of the cheaper expenses in our lifestyle, isn't it? It's just that sheer freedom of getting out there to places like this. The limestone hills is what makes Lincoln National Park so fantastic. The crests and the cliffs and the crevices, it's just fantastic. And all surrounded by this mallee woodland that you sort of get all the way through South Australia's outback too. But you don't get the sea views and you don't get the lovely sand. And those beautiful sandy beaches too. It really is fantastic, but be careful here because in summer the sand gets really loose when it's dry. You know, you want to drop your tyre pressures down even when you're not on the beach. During the winter months it packs down with a bit of rain. It's not that hard at all, you know. It gets a nice little crust on it so you can drive almost anywhere. But at the end of the day, just like most of Australia, four-wheel driving is all about tyre pressures, isn't it? Get a load of this. There's one thing here on the Eyre Peninsula I've noticed. It's that there's more of these seaweed sand traps than anywhere else in Australia. Now you get them all over the place, but here they're really obvious and they're also really dangerous. It's exactly what Tim got caught in the other day down the edge of the beach. What happens is the seaweed gets blown up in great big clumps. Now it does that all over Australia, but the next thing that happens is that a layer of fresh sand gets blown in on top of it. So you're driving along the beach and everything looks hunky-dory, you know, it's just another beach. But in actual fact, there's 2 foot of wet mulch hiding under a thin crust of nice crisp sand. You've really got to watch that because if you get stuck in it, a bit like Tim did the other day, wow, you're gone. It's just like jelly. It's so squishy, it's not funny. You can put a foot on it and actually watch the water seep up while you're standing there, like I am right at the moment. What do you do about that? Well, you know, if you're in doubt, walk it, have a look. If you get a lot of dry seaweed blown up on the high side of the beach, well, that's probably not a bad place to drive at all. Just watch out for the logs and things like that. But don't let that stop you. This place is just too beautiful not to go and have a look. It wasn't long before we'd found a track down to the beach and had another good look. Wow, it's something very, very special, this Lincoln National Park. I really hope they don't cut off the four-wheel drive access. They've already bollarded a few tracks and dug a few up and done a few things like that, all in the name of the environment, which I really can't agree with because I know what happens when we don't use the track. It comes back in 6 months. Long after petrol's gone and vehicles are never there, this place will be unrecognisable once again, it really will. Milo and I have camped on plenty of beaches over the years, and I know a lot of you guys have too. In fact, most of you have by now, I guess. But seeing as we're in South Australia, there's a couple of tips that are sort of pertinent to this place. First of all, find yourself a nice little sheltered alcove if you can, because boy, it's windy around here. And you've got to be careful in places like this because high tide from one to the next can quite often be twice as much. So the first high tide's only half the second one. Can really catch you out if you camped on the beach. So, you know, nice little sheltered alcove, out of the wind, away from any possibility of the tide. The next thing that I've found over the years really makes a huge difference is getting off the ground. Rooftop tent's just ideal because you kick all the sand off going up the ladder. But if you haven't got to that extent or you're just looking for another alternative, an absolute beauty is these stretchers. I mean, they get you 18 inches off the ground straight away. Put a swag on top. In South Australia, that's more than enough because, you know, it doesn't actually rain over here, does it? And you'll be very comfortable just to get rid of the sand before you get into your bag. Just such a good feeling. And my last tip, because there are some people out there who forget this, beaches, sand, salt water. It all acts together to just pull it right out of you. So you need lots of moisture, you need suntan lotion and all that stuff, but you want to carry lots of water and lots of drinkables. And just on that last point about drinkables, just pertaining to South Australia too. Be very, very careful with this Coca-Cola they have in South Australia. 6 of these makes you feel funny and fall over. Really weird Coke. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Oh dear, looks like the camera crew's blagged the tent. I'm on the downstairs lot. Doesn't matter where you are though when you got a view like this, does it? Wow. Well, there you go. That's the Eyre Peninsula, and that's only a tiny little bit of the Eyre Peninsula. We hardly scratched the surface. So you can see that it's another one to put on your must-see list one of these days, hey? And wasn't it great to have Milo back? Well, I don't know how you felt about it, but I know I did. I just enjoy this truck so much it's not funny. All right, guys, see you next time. The Eyre Peninsula is one of those places that people tend to miss out on. They shouldn't. Welcome to Roothy's Ruthless Tales. Go on, grab a slice of fair dinkum, Australia. Get your dose of Roothy and put a smile on your dial.